It's a little known fact that football does actually exist outside of the Premier League, and even outside of Europe. Having said that, it is true that the best footballers in the world tend to ply their trade in Europe. Whilst the South American leagues have been strong historically, a quick look at the international squads of Brazil and Argentina tell you that the best players from both countries, with a few exceptions, play their football in Europe. In fact, the focus is so firmly fixated on European football that players playing outside of the continent can sometimes be overlooked. In addition to South America, recently emerging leagues in China, the Middle East and the US can all lay claim to having some very good players in their ranks. While some players depart for those leagues in the twilight of their careers, this seven is based entirely on current ability, with no regard for prior talents or achievements taken into account. Sorry guys. In the interest of clarity, it's worth pointing out that nations such as Russia and Turkey, who are in both Europe and Asia, are considered for the purposes of this list to be European, and therefore players based in those countries are discounted. This is because these Eurasian countries compete in European football competitions, such as the Champions League and Europa League, so in footballing terms at least, they are European. So here are our top 7 footballers playing outside of Europe. Andre-Pierre Gignac. A lot of people were surprised to see Andre-Pierre Gignac included in France's squad for the 2016 Euros, especially whilst fellow strikers Karim Benzema and Alexander Lacazette watched on from home. In truth, Gignac's inclusion was nowhere near as shocking as some made out, especially not when manager Didier Deschamps has a well-known fondness for having a focal point up front. Gignac is 31, and he's best known for his spells in France with Toulouse and Marseille, and he was particularly prolific with the latter, scoring 77 goals in 186 games. The Frenchman made an unusual move to Mexico in 2015, joining Liga MX side Tigres, where he has since scored a highly creditable 59 goals in 98 games. A big, strong and intelligent centre-forward, Gignac just makes the cut for our top 7. Oscar. There are more players from the Chinese Super League than any other league in our 7, and the first is Oscar. The 25-year-old left Premier League champions Chelsea for a whopping £60 million to join Shanghai SIPG in January, becoming one of the world's best paid players in the process. A 2-time Premier League winner with the Blues, Oscar made the 2014 World Cup All-Star 11. He's played 21 games since his move to China, scoring 4 goals but receiving an 8-game ban recently for his involvement in an on-field brawl. Miguel Borja. The least well-known player in this 7, Miguel Borja is only 24, and should he make the move to Europe in the future, he's likely to become a big hit. A Colombian international, Borja scored 22 goals in 24 games for Colombian top-flight outfit Cortula, and 17 goals in 27 games for Atlético Nacional, before becoming the 4th most expensive player in the history of Brazilian football when he made an £8 million move to Palmeiras in February 2017. Since joining the most successful team in Brazil, who can boast the likes of Rivaldo, Cafu and Roberto Carlos among their illustrious list of former players, Borja has scored 4 goals in 6 games. Sebastian Giovinco. The question of just how good Sebastian Giovinco is up for debate. The Atomic Ant, as he is known, has been an absolute sensation since arriving in the MLS with Toronto in 2015. Given that most European stars don't arrive in the MLS until they're in the dying embers of their careers, Giovinco, who arrived at just 28, is arguably the greatest player to have graced the league. However, he appeared to be a rather more modest performer in Serie A with Juventus, where he flattered to deceive and often seemed to have confidence struggles. He was a hit in his 2 seasons on loan at Parma though, and having scored 57 goals in 89 games for Toronto and being named MVP in 2015, it's probably fair to say Giovinco could hack it in Europe with a team just below the standard of Juventus. Hulk. Into the top 3 and we return to China. Brazilian international Hulk is a player who's arguably been a touch overrated at times during his career. His goal scoring tally of 239 goals in 443 games is mightily impressive, especially for a man who's spent most of his days on the wing. But those goals are split almost exactly into thirds between his time in Japan, Portugal and Russia, none of which are ranked among the top 5 leagues in the world. And now he's in China, a fast emerging nation but far from the competitive stage to truly prove himself as a world great. The powerful Brazilian, whose combined transfer fees equal almost £100 million, is now 30 and starring for Shanghai SIPG, in the Chinese Super League, alongside fellow Brazilians Oscar and Elkerson. Alex Teixeira. When Liverpool fans learnt of their club's £24.6 million bid for Shakhtar Donetsk playmaker Alex Teixeira, they probably didn't expect to lose the race for his signature to a Chinese team that only turned professional in 1994. Teixeira wasn't the first player to make a big money move to China, but he was the first to do so whilst actively being pursued by a major Premier League team, and his move suggested a potential power shift in world football. Teixeira himself is a tenacious, tricky and intelligent attacking midfielder who's also capable of playing as a second striker. He scored 89 goals in 222 games for Shakhtar before joining Jiangsu Suning for a then record fee for an Asian club. He has since scored 15 goals in 34 games for the side, who currently sit bottom of the Chinese Super League. Carlos Tevez. He may be 33 now, but Carlos Tevez still deserves to top this list, even if he is yet to set the world alight in China. The tireless Argentine made waves in the Premier League with West Ham, Manchester United and Manchester City, winning 3 Premier League titles and the Champions League, before adding a couple of Serie A titles with Juventus. Having achieved all he could hope to in the European game, Tevez returned to his boyhood club Boca Juniors. Having won a League and Cup double with Boca, Tevez headed to China for one last huge paycheck. A hard-working forward with good technique and an eye for goal, Tevez has scored 274 goals over the course of his career, but has only managed 2 goals and 4 assists in his first 8 games for Shanghai Shenhua. So that's it for our top 7. There are a huge raft of players who just missed out, so honourable mentions go to Ezequiel Lavezzi, Giovanni Dos Santos, Ramirez, Xavi, Axel Witsel, Lucas Prato, Everton Ribeiro, Lucas Olario, Djemba Ba and veteran New York City striker David Villa. Footballing aficionados, let us know who you'd have included, and don't forget to like and subscribe to HITC Sevens.